start and session starts.
Yeah, I stopped.
Yeah. Thank you.
So let's start, sir.
Yeah, no. Participants need to come. No,
Okay.
they need to join.
I think not many are there.
Sir,
How can you see number of participants?
so the top right you just see, sir.
Yeah,
Of
but
them-
there is 0 showing actually.
8 live out of 127 registered.
Yeah, 8 are there. Yeah,
Yes. They're joining now also.
yeah. Another 5 minutes is there. So
Yes. So 2 to 3 minutes will take. So once it crosses 100, we will start the session, sir.
sure.
As soon as sir comes, we'll start the programs. It has reached 100.
Yeah, sure.
Kanishka, start now.
Okay. Welcome back, everyone. And this is Knowledge 4.0, the webinar series organized by Chennai Institute of Technology. As we said before, this session is all about artificial intelligence and machine learning in speech system. I request Associate Professor of EC Department, Organizing Secretary, Dr. Dhanagopal, to welcome the guest. Please, sir.
So thank you, Kanishka. And good afternoon, and welcome you all back to the one week online FTP on recent trends in electronics and communication under Knowledge 4.0 webinar series. So this is one of the trend-setting and innovative initiative of Chennai Institute of Technology, CIT, established in the year of 2010. Within short span of time, we achieved top 10 position among 500 plus engineering colleges applied to Anna University, Chennai. Knowledge 4.0 webinar series going very successful manner under the guidance of our Honorable Chairman Shri P. Sriram, the first generation entrepreneur, a well-known industrialist, and managing director of Unki Group of Companies. We have been conducting various webinars under this webinar series, such as technical, research, innovation, and career guidance webinar series. In addition to this webinar series, we have been also conducting FTP workshops, conferences, and seminars. Today, we are in second session of our FDP. Today, we have Dr. Anil Kumar. Welcome you, sir. I would like to introduce Kanishka. Please introduce, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. It's my pleasure to welcome and introduce the expert Dr. Anil Kumar Uppala to this webinar. Welcome you, sir. Dr. Anil Kumar received the PhD degree from IIT Kharagpur in 2012. Received the MTech degree in Electronics and Communication Engineering from NIT Kurukshetra, Haryana in 2000. Also received BTech degree in Electronics and Communication Engineering from the Jawaharlal Nehru Technology University, Andhra Pradesh in 2005. His research interests are speech processing in wireless environment, speech recognition, speaker recognition. Dr. Anil Kumar has published more than 20 international journals and has attended more than 60 international conferences. Without further ado, let's get into the session. Before we get started, a small little housekeeping. If you have any queries, please put forward in the chat box. We'll have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. Sir, now it's your time. Please proceed.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the organizers for inviting me. Let me share the screen. Hope all of you can see my screen.
Yeah, yes, sir. Fine, sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I will take about an hour on this topic AI and ML in speech systems. So 1 hour is very short time because a lot of research happened in the area of speech systems. So main goal or take home message from this talk is that why if you see current trend is in AI and ML, current everything is related to neural network. So I will try to emphasize that point. What are the classical machine learning approaches what people used in speech systems, now how they replaced with neural networks. Okay, so let us move on. So coming to the speech, people sometimes usually confuse speech between voice and audio. Okay, audio means speech plus music. Voice may not have any meaning, but speech means it is a legal sequence of legal sounds produced by human being. And whenever somebody speak, gives a speech, that means that has some meaning. Okay, so if you see, speech is our natural mode of communication. Whenever you want to communicate to your family member or friend, you tend to speak. But how you are interacting with the machine. We are interacting with the machine with the help of keyboard or touch screen like that. Okay, that's why if you see our parents or grandparents, they are not very comfortable using my computer or mobile unless they're well educated, because it requires different way of input. But if it works based on your speech, okay, then reach will be more. Okay, so coming to the speech production, before going to the speech production, what I'm trying to emphasize is that the ultimate goal of speech processing is to make human-computer interaction as natural as possible. Okay, coming to the speech production, these two are the important blocks: vocal track system and excitation source. and this is what happens in the brain. Okay, once some message formulated and language will be coded, and then neuromuscular commands will come, and this excitation source. Okay, excitation source means lungs will give the required air, and these vocal folds, okay, which are below your mouth, vocal folds. Okay, though those acts as the excitation source, and your vocal tract system, that means your oral cavity and nasal cavity. Here you can see here these are the, in this figure, first figure, you can see these are the vocal folds. Okay, these give you the required energy, and your oral cavity and nasal cavity acts as a resonators. Depending on the shape of them, then some frequencies will come and they are related to the sounds. Okay, you can see in the second diagram also, the lungs will give the required energy, and here these vocal folds, okay, vocal folds acts as an excitation, and then this oral cavity and nasal cavity acts as a resonator or system. That's why it is called system, and this is called source. Okay, excitation source or vocal tract system. And yeah, typically speech signal look like this. If you ask, strictly speaking, speech is a non-stationary signal, because it depends on what you speak, and so what you speak depends on time and things. So speech is a non-stationary in the sense its characteristics change with time. But having said that, if you zoom it and see in the voice region part of the speech signal, okay, then you can see some kind of periodicity. Okay, so it is why speech is called quasi-stationary signal. If you take any speech signal, it contains three parts. One is voiced speech, another one is unvoiced speech, like this, and sometimes silence, because you continuously can't speak. In between you give some pauses. So total three regions: voiced speech, unvoiced speech, and silence. All vowels are voiced, some consonants are voiced, some consonants are unvoiced. Okay, so these regions, you can see these high SNR regions, these are actually vowels. Okay, these regions are consonants. Okay, and once somebody speaks, okay, if I say I'm Anil, just I say, let's say I'm from Hyderabad. Okay, or you say I am from Chennai. Okay, so if somebody says I am from Chennai, that has lot of information. Okay, your brain does this, all these things automatically, right? If somebody says I am from Chennai, you will get the message. You will use the language, what language he is using, and what gender is that, and age. You can roughly predict their age, and you can see who is speaking. If you know their speech already, because everybody's speech is different. So you can find the speaker identity. You can see emotional state, whether they are telling the things in normal mode or happy mode or anger mode, and if they have any depression or any cognitive related issues or any abnormalities. All this information your human brain does it automatically. Okay, now the thing is that machine has to do all these things, so that we can also interact with them, with the machine. So if you see, so if you want to get a message, okay, a text from the speech, that is called automatic speech recognition. Okay, if you want to convert speech to text or speech to message, that is called automatic speech recognition, which many of you are already using, I guess, right? In the form of Apple Siri or Microsoft Cortana or Google Assistant or Amazon Alexa. If you see from last 3-4 years, one of the application which is Amazon Alexa, you might have heard about that. Okay, it's a personal assistant. You can put it to the wall and you can speak to Alexa, what is the weather information, Alexa order something for me, like that, if you configure it well. So it recognizes your speech and acts accordingly. Okay, and also nowadays, even my kids, my children and everybody, they go to Play Store and they put the microphone on and they say car game, and game will, they don't know how to type car game, but they say car game, and then games are coming and they are installing and playing. So this application already coming to the existence. And then there is another system called text to speech. Okay, converting text to speech. This also all of you, I think, I bet all of you might have used already, in the form of Google Maps. Whenever you can, you get down at airport or railway station and you want to go to Chennai Institute of Technology, what you do, you just put to the Google Maps, airport to Chennai Institute of Technology, and if you put a navigation, it says that turn right, turn left, go straight for 5 kilometers, like that. So who is telling? Because text is already there, and speech system, background system of text to speech is reading for you. Okay. These two are the main important systems because communication means somebody has to understand my message and reply back to the message. So if these two systems are integrated well, then these two are the main important for communication. Along with that, speech has many other information like speaker information, language information, emotion information, and you can also evaluate the pronunciation variation of the person. Okay, you can also use it for forensic tools in the form of speaker recognition, and speech coding is also there. It is very well exploited in communication, wireless communication, because speech has some redundancy. Instead of sending the full bit rate, we can also use the speech coding and then reduce the bit rate so that you can wireless channel bandwidth will be saved. Okay, our today topic is on AI and ML in speech systems, so I'm not going to the details of speech coding, even though this topic which I worked during my PhD. So so what I'm trying to say is that whatever human being does, if system does following tasks, if you convert speech to text or message, that is called speech recognition, and text to speech is called speech synthesis or text to speech. And you can already have spoken dialogue system. It's not a one technology. And then speaker recognition means identifying the speaker from the speech signal. Our emotion recognition means identifying the emotion from the speech signal. Language identification means identifying the language from the speech signal. Pronunciation evaluation can be done, and forensic tools, and these are the other applications. Okay. As I discussed earlier, what is importance? Importance is to make human-machine interaction as natural as possible. That's where Alexa and Google Assistant has got a lot of popularity. Okay. We can also use it for security and authentication. Speech-based smart appliances. When anybody has some disabilities, even for our normal people comfort, you can say that switch on fan, switch off fan, switch on TV, switch off TV. Okay, we can say that that those those things may work. Okay, and then now lot of if you ask me, these systems are evolving from last 30-40 years. Okay, at least 40 years in many of these core systems. They got some stage, and that's why already applications coming around that. Okay, that's why it is very difficult to attempt these problems, except like problems like emotion recognition, which is not well addressed. Other conventional problems are well addressed problems. After neural network coming into the picture, these anybody contributing to this will be extremely difficult, because people like Google, Amazon coming to the picture, and they have huge amounts of data and computation power. It is difficult to sit from the academia and contribute, but we can still see in the peripherals of these problems we can do something. But next big thing happening, at least in India, in next 4 or 5 years, you will listen the buzz term speech to speech translation. For example, if I come to Chennai, I may find difficulty to speak in Tamil. If someone come to Hyderabad, they may find difficult to speak Hindi or Telugu. So how to convert our mother tongue to the required target language? That is the speech to speech translation. Okay, that is there in few languages, but Indian languages it is not yet there in the full way. So government is taking a lot of interest. So they already gave the pilot project to IIT Madras, IIIT Hyderabad, and CDAC, and that application is coming. Trials are going on, and very soon you will listen a lot of buzz related to speech translation, especially in Indian context. One Indian language to other Indian language speech conversion. And anyway, you can use it as a navigator for disabled people if you can. You can use these technologies. And personalized speech therapist, some work is happening. Yeah, along with that speech to speech translation, if anybody want to work in speech right now, another interesting area is pathological speech pathology, and we have an institute in Mysore, All India Institute of Speech and Hearing. Similarly, across the world, it is getting a lot of popularity. That some disorders like autism, dysarthria, cleft palatal. So these problems are speech pathologic problems are there. So how can technology help those people to learn things or to perform the things? Okay, anybody want to work in that area? Yes, you can work. These are the good problems. There is no point now doing speech recognition. For example, I want to do Tamil speech recognition. There is no issue. There is no point. It is only lack of data. Once data is there, algorithms are already there. Okay, as personalized trend to the education. Yeah, yeah, these things are the importance of these applications. Okay. And coming to the any of these systems building, most of these systems are built with machine learning, because for all these systems, human being is the reference, because we can do all these things effortlessly through our brain. Now the thing is that we have to use machine learning to train our system, and it will perform our required task. Um, so any machine learning will contains two steps. One is that training and testing, and in the training and testing step, there is something called feature extraction and then modeling. For example, I want to recognize 4 of your family members. What I will do, I don't ask how many hands you have or how many legs you have. What I will do is that what is your name or what is your age or something, some features from you which will help me to recognize 4 of your family members. Similarly, if you want to recognize anything, any machine learning problem, you will extract some features from the data, because data may have some redundant information which you don't want, which is a variable and useful information will extract. That is called feature extraction. In speech signal, the most famous features are null frequency capsule quotients or linear prediction capsule quotients, and there is something called perception linear prediction capsule quotients. So among all these, MFCC is very popular. Here one take home message is that you may ask why 50 years it took to build these systems, because the way human being process the speech and the way system process the speech is entirely different, because speech don't have luxury, like you don't know the context. Okay, how you recognize the speech? You listen one sentence, and based on that you will understand. Okay, but the system can't do that, because for example, I want to build a speech recognition system, Tamil speech recognition system. I want to build. Okay, so any recognition system you have to build, you have to use some classifier. Okay, so what should be my class? For example, earlier I told there are 4 members in your family, I want to recognize them. So 4 of your family members are 4 classes for me. Okay, similarly, if I want to build Tamil speech recognition system, what will be my classes? Can I take Tamil sentence as a class? I can't take, simply because there are so many Tamil sentences, maybe infinite. Okay, if infinite, let us say I want to recognize 4 of your family members, I can do. I want to recognize your extended family, I can do. I want to recognize entire people of Chennai, then what happens? Obviously, the performance of the system goes down. Simple name or any feature won't work, because same name may be there for so many people like that. So confusion, number of classes increases, confusion increases. So I can't take sentences as a class. Can I take word as a class? Even Tamil, so many words are there, we can't even take word as a class. Usually what we model is a phoneme. Each phoneme, there may be some 50-60 phonemes depending on the richness of the language. So maybe some 50 phonemes will be there in Tamil. That means the basic sound production units, some 50 to 60 will be there. Those what we model. Okay, so what will happen if you speak something? First, phones will be recognized, and those phones will be converted into words, and words will be converted into sentence. That's why this recognition system sometimes give error. It can't listen like human being listen the sentence and understand. You also understand based on your previous knowledge. All that is not there for the machine. Machine has to process on a fly, and whatever the model built for that phoneme, accordingly it has to recognize. So that's why it took some time. Now what they took is that they took a lot of data spoken by so many speakers, because if you say ah, I say ah, and your friend say ah, if you record and see, the signal looks entirely different. Even though it is same ah, because of speaker variations, it looks different, signal looks different. Okay, so to nullify all those variations, we will record speech from multiple speakers, and we'll train the system so that speaker variability will be reduced. Okay, and to process the speech signal also, as I said earlier, speech is a quasi-stationary signal. That's why what we'll use, that we'll use short-term Fourier transform, because there is no point of applying Fourier transform for the entire signal, which won't give much information. We'll take window by window or frame by frame from speech signal and process it. We'll take 20 milliseconds frame, that is very famous in speech, because 20 milliseconds correspond to 2 to 3 pitch cycles, which means your rate of vocal fold vibrations. Okay, in your excitation source you have vocal folds. The rate of vocal fold vibration is called pitch. So here what we do is that we'll take every 20 millisecond frame, and this time domain amplitudes and zero crossings or any features, they are not reliable, because they have a lot of variation. So they will go to frequency domain. Okay, And due to lack of time, I'm skipping something like there is something called concept called Kepstrom. Kepstrom is nothing but Kepstrom is inverse Fourier transform of logarithm of spectrum. Inverse Fourier transform of logarithm of spectrum is called Kepstrom. That is because of Kepstrom, what happens is that speech is a consist of both excitation source and vocal tract system. After Kepstrom analysis, we can separate these two. We can separate excitation source and vocal tract system, and excitation source and vocal tract system, and then it will help because vocal tract system is which is changing from every sound to sound, so we'll extract features related to vocal tract system. So this is a block diagram for Mel frequency capsule quotients. So the Mel filter bank is what we use because your human artery system follows Mel scale. Anyway, you want to replace human ear with the machine, right? We try to understand the speech through our human ear, so we want to replace human ear with the machine. So they see that why human ear follows Mel scale, so they also using Mel scale in the feature extraction part. Okay, so take the speech signal, take every frame by frame, apply Fourier transform, and convert that into Mel scale. Take the logarithm and take the inverse. This logarithm and inverse and Fourier transform is called Kepstrom. Okay, this we irrespective of the whatever the system, this MFCC, Mel frequency capsule quotients, can be used for building any of these systems. Okay, it is not that I will use different features for different systems. You can use that, but the MFCC feature is the one which will help for building all the systems. And just to reiterate, speech systems like speaker recognition means converting speech to speaker. Speaker verification means verifying the speaker identity. Emotion recognition means speech to emotion conversion, speech to emotion detection. Spoken language identification means speech to language identification. Automatic speech recognition means speech to text conversion. Text to speech means converting the text to speech signal. Okay, so if you want to classify these systems, so any of these speaker recognition or language or emotion, they correspond into simple classification problems. You have a signal speech and you have to classify them into language or speaker or emotion. But on the other hand, in speech recognition or text to speech, we will convert speech to text or text to speech. So this is one sequence to other sequence mapping, speech sequence to text sequence mapping. That's why here these systems also require some text processing knowledge. For example, I want to build speech recognition. I don't know how far you people understand, but just try to listen. So just if you want to build speech recognition, let's say I want to build Tamil speech recognition system. What are my ingredients? My ingredients to build that system is I need to have speech data which is collected from multiple Tamil speakers, both female, male, and different age groups, because system has to work for all people. Next time, whenever I'm testing, it should work for everybody. So I need to build for all these variations. So all these variations need to be covered. So I will collect speech data which cover all Tamil phonemes and also as many speakers as possible. That is one requirement. Second requirement is somebody has to manually transcribe, manually first of all chop those wave files into sentence by sentence, and each wave file, each sentence wave file, try to write a corresponding text, because we are converting speech to text. For that purpose, we need to have speech data and corresponding transcription. And the third ingredient what is required is phonemic dictionary. That means each word in the transcription, what are the sounds present in that word? Because we are not modeling the sentence, we are modeling the phonemes. So I need to know what phonemes are present in those transcription words. Okay, that will be given by pronunciation dictionary. After that, what happens is that on speech wave file and transcription and dictionary, by using these three, so we have algorithms to automatically segment the speech into different phonemic sounds. After that, I have the speech data with phonemic labels. I will take them and train the corresponding phonemes. Okay, you can use the famous technique now. Famous toolbox which we use now is Kaldi. For speech recognition, we are using Kaldi framework. But that's why we need some tech. Let's say I want to build Tamil recognizer as a electronics engineer. I may not know how to make a Tamil pronunciation dictionary. Okay, I may not transcribe the files in Tamil properly, because for this we need proper linguistic. Tamil linguistic people are required. Okay, similarly, if you want to build any language, that language resources are required. Otherwise, we can't build. Okay, that's why sometimes this speech system buildings requires multiple knowledge. Okay, but these systems are simple classification problems. I don't need to worry about text. I want to convert from that speech signal into language or speaker or emotion. Okay. So for these systems in classically from in late 90s, for these systems, most of the time, all these three problems, classification problems, even in fact any of the classification problems in image or text or speech, the trend is same. The approaches, they started with Gaussian mixture models. Gaussian mixture model, then Gaussian mixture model followed by UVM, then followed by iVector, and then followed, now currently neural networks have taken over. Now neural networks with attention. Okay, so if you ask what is the baseline, 5 years back it is iVector system, but right now it is DNN with attention approaches. That is the state of the art technique for this. And for this, these problems are started with hidden Markov models, because hidden Markov models are known for capturing the sequential information present in the features. So they started with hidden Markov model, and now they are also slowly replaced with neural networks, because now neural networks has the capacity of sequential information capturing by using recurrent neural network architecture. That's why these are also now neural networks replaced with neural networks. Okay, I will touch upon those points, how neural networks slowly taken over these systems. Okay, why first of all neural networks have taken over. I have 2-3 slides on that, maybe after discussing the classical and machine learning techniques. Okay, I will go to them. For example, if you want to do any of these machine learning techniques, first, as I told you, have to extract the features, and then you have to extract the features, and then you have to use some machine learning algorithm to classify them. Okay, so as I said, we are using already mel frequency capsule quotients. For example, you want to do speaker recognition or language recognition. What is the famous approach is the Gaussian mixture model. Okay, that means for every 20 milliseconds frame, what we discussed earlier, every 20 milliseconds frame, we extract some features. For example, you want to do speaker recognition. Okay, you collected some 2 minutes of data. Okay, carefully listen. You selected some 2 minutes of data. So for every 20 milliseconds, you will get the features. So for 2 minutes, you will get a lot of features. Okay, some, let us say 10,000 feature vectors you got. These 10,000 feature vectors are corresponding to the speaker, so you have to fit them into some modeling. So for that, Gaussian mixture model is proposed initially. What is here the thing is that instead of modeling with one Gaussian, we'll model them into multiple Gaussians like this and fit them. Let us say I use 3 Gaussians, and if blue is one speaker, let us say red is another speaker. You can see the weightage given for first Gaussian in blue and red is different, and similarly other also. So the thing is that once you build this machine learning model, so different means and variance and weights will come for every speaker. So based on that, we can recognize. Okay, that's where Gaussian mixture model proposed. But the thing is that you can also obviously understand that having more Gaussians is good, right? If I have more Gaussians, I can capture the more variations and then recognize the speaker or language, or like that. But to get more Gaussians, I need to have more number of features. For example, I want to do speaker recognition system. Okay, if I have if I want to build a good speaker recognition system, I need 1 hour of data. I can't ask everybody to give 1 hour. I am building your system. Nobody will give 1 hour of data. You have to build with very less data. So to solve that problem, the concept of universal background model has come. That UBM means what I will do. Let us say I'm building speaker recognition system for EC department. I'll go to computer science department, ask all faculty to give some 5 minutes of speech, combine all that speech, make it 1 hour, and with that 1 hour, build one Gaussian mixture model. Okay, that is called universal background model. That universal background model is used again. Then let us say this is what we do. Okay, just a minute. what we'll do is that, we'll take the current feature vectors. Instead of starting randomly, we'll start with GMM UBM, universal background model, and then that will be adapted. Okay, so you can see here training comes, and then we'll use UBM, and because UBM is trained with a lot of data, and their means variance and weights are not zero, and they are well trained, and then we'll change those mean variance and weights based on the small amount of training data. That is called adaptation, and then you will build the corresponding speaker Gaussian mixture model. This is got famous. And then problem came is like, this UBM vector U is a bigger one. Let us say I have some 1000 vector. Usually if we have some 2 minutes, 5 minutes of data, I can build only up to 64 Gaussians like that. But if I have 1 hour of data, I can build up to 1024 Gaussians. 1024 Gaussians means I have 1024 means, variance and weights. So that much big vector you will get. Then they found that that many feature vector may have other redundant information. If you want to use some joint factor analysis and make it more speaker specific, that's where I vector has come. I vector is nothing but intermediate vector which comes from the UBM concept. That is what ruled till 2015 or so, 14, 15 like that. Then slowly neural network has coming to neural network has come into picture. Just let me use some 3 slides on neural networks just to explain neural networks very basically due to shortage of time. And before that, just to clear some of your any confusion. So if you want to use one term, okay, for all these kind of artificial intelligence, so you can use only one term called AI. AI is the bigger term. AI means use any approach, you create some intelligence, that is AI. Okay, and machine learning is subset of AI which uses some particular statistical techniques to learn the machines. Okay, and deep learning is part of machine learning again, and it uses some deeper neural networks. Okay, so AI subset is ML. In deep learning is also part of machine learning. Okay, so why deep learning got popular is because you can see in this slide, neural networks are invented in 1950 and 1990s also some work happened. Now they are ruling everything because this is the reason. Now the amount of data availability, for example, speech recognition, I'm telling no. So academia don't have even 100, 200 hours of data, but Google is using 10,000 hours to 1 lakh hours of data, at least in English. So they have 10,000 hours to 1 lakh hours of data. If that much amount of data available, that classical hidden Markov models or those things, they will get saturated. Their performance improves maybe up to 1,000 hours here. After 1,000 hours, does not matter for me. I am saturated. My parameters got saturated. I don't have enough number of parameters to fine tune. But here, the amount of data increase, deep learning is promising and keep on increasing. Okay. So why? Because deep learning has these many parameters to vary. I have number of layers, number of neurons in each layer, and what is the activation function I can use, number of times I can train, number of epochs, and what is the error function which I am using, what is the learning rate, what is the batch size, because how many examples in each batch I am using to train my system, and momentum parameters and kernels and number of features and gradient descent methods. There are so many parameters are there. That's why it is called deep learning, because if you use more number of layers and more number of neurons, that will become neural network, will become deep neural network. So, and more importantly, I will emphasize one more point here, that is, let us skip this due to shortage of time. I will come back to this again. This is a neural network. You can see here, there is one more thing which I want to emphasize, which some of you know or some of may not know. Unlike any machine learning approach or any machine learning approach like Gaussian mixture model or hidden Markov models, or you take a Navi Bayes or random forest or any approach you take, there is no concept of architecture in those models. Okay, they are statistical models, use some parameters to estimate something, that's it, over. But in neural network, there is something something called concept of architecture. Architecture means how your neurons are connected. Okay, they can be feed forward neural network, feedback neural network, recurrent neural network are now famous, like LSTM. They are connected, neurons are connected in a particular way. Okay, and that is called LSTM, long-term, short-term memory. Okay, or auto-encoder decoder. There are so many approaches are coming, and each approach will fit into one problem solving. And because of this architecture concept, they are replacing all machine learning approach. Let us say each machine learning approach, they have pros and cons. In particular application, this machine learning approach works well, for example. And corresponding to that, we have another architecture in the neural network which replacing that conventional machine approach and performing the task much better. That's where if you want to use AI, you are no go than using deep learning right now. Okay, until unless you have very less data, the amount of data collection is very difficult, then you may use classical machine learning approaches, but those kind of problems are very limited. And whenever data is available, there is no go than going to neural networks, because more amount of data is required to get a better accuracy in neural networks, unlike classical machine learning approaches. Here I am telling the evaluations of Gaussian mixture model, UVM, and then iVector. Then they replaced with this feed-forward neural network. So this year you will give MFCC feature vectors. These output layers will be your classes like language or speaker or whatever it is. Okay, and here you see, if you take a speech signal, you give frame by frame and get the decision. So if you take one utterance like hey, thank you for calling me, that is a sentence, and we are trying to recognize the language. We have some 8 languages like France, Chinese, whatever it is, and that this is from English, right? Hey, thank you for calling me. And you can see that each frame I am taking a decision. You can see that majority of the frames are detected by English, but you can also see that all frames are not contributing to the language identification. Okay, so that's where the DNN with attention mechanism has come. Okay, what is this attention mechanism? What I will do is that once I give the input for one frame, and I won't go to the output, I will take this hidden representation. Next frame, next hidden representation. Then you will get this kind of hidden vectors. Okay, H1, H2, H3, H7, HT, like that for every time instant. After that, each one, because see, if this is from this kind of frame where these frames are not important, I will give less weightage here. I will give less weightage, and I will give more weightage for the important frames. And combining all of that, I am making context vector, which I use this context vector for making my decision. That is what called utterance level decision. So this attention network, this weights will come from this attention network, which is already pre-trained using the in the training phase. Okay, that is called DNN with attention mechanism. Okay, and this is what now popular. If you use ear attention and you want to use attention for the previous hidden layers also, that is becoming DNN with multi-head attention. DNN with multi-head attention. Okay, so DNN or DNN with multi-head attention are the popular approaches for speaker recognition, language, or emotion. Those any classification problems, DNN with multi-head attention is the state of the art. Okay, now another problem which I want to discuss is speech recognition. For speech recognition, as I told, these are not simple classification problems. Along with the speech, we also need the text processing knowledge. Language model also required. Okay, so speech recognition blocks looks like this. This has 2 important blocks called acoustic model and language model. Acoustic model means speech features are there and taken, and then you will try to convert them into phonemes. Language model will say that what is the probability that after this phoneme comes, because we have to combine the phonemes and make a word. Sometimes this language model help me to make correct the phonemic errors and make a right word, choose a right word. Okay, so these are the evaluations. Earlier, the hidden Markov models are famous for capturing the sequential information. HMM is becoming popular. In turn, some parameters or HMMs are estimated using Gaussian mixture model. That is why it is called Gaussian mixture model followed by hidden Markov model. But now slowly that HMM is replaced with DNN, but still they feel that HMM is required to capture the sequential information. The moment recurrent neural network architecture is becoming famous, recurrent neural networks are known for capturing sequence to sequence. Not only in speech, RNNs are famous in image also, like captioning image, one image to text, or one text to other text. Machine translation is there, no? For all the sequence to sequence mapping, these recurrent neural networks are very promising. Once that amount of data is more, now they replaced these architectures, and now you see around 30 years of effort is happened between these two, and all are gone once this is come. RNN-CTC has come and promising all Google, Amazon, all these are using this RNN-CTC, and right now they are using some encoder decoder architectures to convert speech to text. Okay, so because of this promising of these new architectures presenting in the neural networks. Okay, so in summary, what I want to highlight is that there are some classical machine learning approaches are there in different aspects of speech, but slowly because of advancements in neural networks, they are replaced with this. Now, for example, this system to build, we need some 1,000 hours of data is good, or even few hundred hours will give good, some reasonable good recognition system. But these are expecting in terms of thousands. So now, let us say I want to build a recognizer for India. So we are thinking, let us Indian languages. So we don't have that much huge amounts of data. Microsoft thrown a challenge in 2018. They gave some 50 hours of Telugu, Tamil, and Gujarati data, and only 50 hours, and they asked to build the speech recognition system. So what we built is that what we thought, can we share the knowledge of, because even the vocabulary is different, phonemic sounds of language are same. So can we combine these languages data, and can we make a single recognition system, is what we thought. One of my first PhD student work is related to that. So what we thought is, can we combine these three of them and build one system? Then our orthography of our phonemic representation of each language is different. So what we done is that we convert all of them into common phone set, IT3 format, and we build a recognition. So let me play you the demo of it. Okay, so that
Hi everyone, this is a demo for the multilingual ASR for the joint acoustic model trained for the three languages of Gujarati, Telugu and Tamil respectively. These icons, separately given as Gujarati, Telugu and Tamil, consist of the samples pre-recorded from the three languages, where they support this play and decode options. So first we start with Gujarati language. Let's play it.
પ્રાપ્ત માહિતી અનુસાર એક આત્મવધિત હુમલાદ્વારે ખુદને ઉડાવી લીધો છે.
So when you observe this, the word spoken as Prapta Mahuti Anusar Eka Atma Vatita Hamildivari Kudane Udvasa Idyuchi. So this is a common phone list for the three languages, which is displayed as the above thing, and the orthography for the Gujarati language it's given as below. This thing Prapti Mahuti Anusar. Now I need to go for the next language, Telugu.
రాష్ట్ర ప్రభుత్వానికి వ్యతిరేకంగా నెల్లూరు నగరంలో పౌర హక్కుల నేతలు భారీ ర్యాలీ నిర్వహించారు.
So this is the thing which comes in the common phone list. And the word spoken is as below. రాష్ట్ర ప్రభుత్వానికి వ్యతిరేకంగా నెల్లూరు నగరంలో పౌర హక్కుల నేతలు భారీ ర్యాలీ నిర్వహించారు. And this is the orthography for the corresponding Telugu language, which is as below. Similarly, we go for Tamil language.
மதுரை மாவட்ட ஆட்சியர் வீர ராகவ் ராணுவ வீரர்கள் பொதுமக்கள் என 1000க்கும் மேற்பட்டோர் இறுதி ஊர்வலத்தில் பங்கேற்று உள்ளனர்.
Here you can observe that these scripts are decoded at the back end using Kaldi, and this is a transcription, corresponding transcription which we got in Tamil. Here, the purposely what we have done is we had given the words the sentences which consist long words here. This sample file consists of sentences which are much more larger than the other two languages. So this is the orthography in Tamil, and the common phone set is displayed at this with the WAV file ID. Now let us test the demo for 3 different languages, where I speak the words straight from each language at a time in the sentence, such that the words from the 3 languages are given below. Let's consider an example. So I am recording it. So press this record icon. Podumakkal Mahati Anusar Telidu. I stop this recording. I'll just play the WAV file. Podumakkal Mahati Anusar Telidu. And I decode it. The decoding is being going at the back end. So this is the word which I have been spoken, the Tamil word Podumakkal, and this is the Gujarati word Mahati Anusara, and the third one is Telugu word Telidu, which is displayed as below. See, Podumakkal is a Tamil word which displays the Tamil text. Mahati Anusar is a Gujarati word which is displayed as below, and the third one is Telidu, which is a Telugu word. So while you observe this, this sentence consists of the word from 3 different languages, which is given as below. And this is
So you can see that we combined 3 languages and try to build one single speech recognition system, which looks promising. Now we are extending that work. So similarly, as I told, now currently speech-to-speech translation is going to rule the things. Or a lot of work is need to be done in that space. We got initial project on this time. Let me show you that demo as well.
Greetings to one and all. We are from Speech Processing Laboratory, IIIT, Hyderabad. Today, we are going to show you a demonstration on speech-to-speech translation. Our speech-to-speech translation application is a coupling of ASR module, machine translation module, TTS module, respectively. In general, ASR stands for Automatic Speech Recognition. The main purpose of an ASR is to convert the speech utterance into its transcript. MT stands for Machine Translation, which is translating the text from one language to another. TTS. TTS stands for text to speech. The output from machine translation is fed to TTS module. In our GUI, we have 3 sections. 1 ASR, 2 machine translation, 3 TTS. In each of these 3 sections, we have 3 radio buttons. These radio buttons are used to select from which API we have to use the corresponding modules. So here I am going to select ASR from Google, MT from Microsoft's Azure API for translation purpose, and in TTS section I am going to select Google. Initially, we will pick a few of the audio samples from our Prime Minister's Narendra Modi ji's Mann Ki Baat sessions and try to convert it to English language. That is, the audio file which we have taken here is from Mann Ki Baat, one of the Mann Ki Baat session. So the target language is to be English and the source language is the language which the utterance has been picked. Here I will be converting it from Hindi to English. So the input text stands for ASR's output, which is the first block of our system. Output text is the translated text in English. It says that we can give message for saving water in palaces from the very affected part. Let's hear the input, which is
इन मेलों में पानी बचाने का संदेश हम बड़े ही प्रभावी ढंग से दे सकते हैं.
This is a sample which we have taken. Now let's hear the output, which is translated one to English.
We can give the message of saving water in palaces from the very affected part.
Now let us record few samples and test our application. So my source language would be Hindi and target language is English. Sir, भारत रत्न डॉक्टर APJ अब्दुल कलाम जी का जन्मदिन अक्टूबर महीने का 15 तारीख को आ रहा है. This is the ASR output and the translated one is in English. It says, Sir, Bharat Ratna Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam's birthday is coming on the 15th October. So let's hear the output first.
Sir, Bharat Ratna Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam's birthday is coming on the 15th of October.
And let's hear the input now. Sir, Bharat Ratna Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam जी का जन्मदिन अक्टूबर महीने का 15 तारीख को आ रहा है.
Yeah, you can see that we built some of those systems related to speech. So in summary, what I'm trying to say is that speech systems are very promising and very useful, especially in country like India. We have a lot of languages. Officially, we have some 22 languages, and if you include English, those are 23 official languages. And more importantly, there are so many uneducated people are there in India, and they don't know how to write and read their language, but they know how to speak, because speech is our natural mode of communication. So if you build applications around speech, and Indian context, there is a lot of potential market is there already. Alexa, like Amazon and Google and Microsoft, they're investing a lot of money to build products in Indian languages. There is a long way to go, and then that is related to speech. But if you related to machine learning or AI approaches for these systems building, earlier various approaches are there, various machine learning approaches are there for to build these systems. But right now, for whatever may be the application, because of the these architectures and different parameters available in deep learning techniques, they have taken over, and for most of the applications, the background system is neural network only. So with that, I want to end this session. I'm happy to take up the questions.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for a wonderful session.
Thank you, sir.
Dear participants, kindly post your questions. So we have one question. DNN attention, how it works?
I just moved the slide. If you want me to tell orally, DNN with attention is nothing but usually frame level decisions we take. We give every frame and take the, let us say your test case has some 100 frames. Okay, every frame you take and get a decision, and out of 100 frames, whichever number of frames gives the major times particular class, will hypothesize that this test case is from that particular class. But in DNN with attention, what we'll do is that we'll take one decision only by combining all these 100 frames also. How we do is that we'll give one by one frame, and the hidden, before going to the output layer, we'll take the hidden layer outputs and keep it aside, and each of them we will weight based on our attention network weightage, and after that we'll prepare something called context vector. Based on that, we'll take a decision. So because rather than taking a frame level decision, it is always better to take a utterance level decision. And anyway, human being also listen the utterance and take a decision. So in that motivation, DNN with attention architectures are becoming popular in classification.
So next, differentiate LPCC and PLPCC.
LPCC is simple linear prediction coefficients, but perception linear prediction coefficients they use some arbitrary mechanism based blocks and then do the prediction, linear prediction. That's why they are called PLP. It's a standard technique. You please refer to the PLP standard paper written by Heinrich Hermanski. He is the one who is the one who proposed in his PhD that PLP features, perceptual linear prediction features.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Can I implement speech signal processing for robotic applications?
Yeah, you can, because you can. Robot also can. For example, Sophia. All of you might have know that Sophia, right? At least you might. It also came to India. So Sophia understands your speech and responds. So obviously speech blocks are involved in that.
Okay, sir. So what are the softwares used to build this system?
If you want to build speaker recognition or language or those things, you can use MATLAB or Python. Earlier we used to use MATLAB, but now Python has packages like sklearn, PyTorch, where machine learning things can be done, and these features can be extracted using packages called librosa, like that. So you can use Python if you want to avoid purchasing MATLAB, or if you have MATLAB license, you can use MATLAB toolboxes. But for speech recognition, we have a separate free tool called Kaldi. Kaldi. K-A-L-D-I.
Okay, sir. So one more question is, what is the latest technology in speech and text recognition, and what are all the research going on?
Now research, if you ask any top conference in any area you take, 50 to 60% of the papers is the different architectures of neural networks or different way of training neural networks only. The trend is on neural networks only. So different architecture, a different way of fine tuning the parameters, a different way of doing the things only.
Okay. What is the accuracy of speech recognition system?
Speech recognition system, it is around 9%. Speech recognition system is evaluated based on word error rate. Let us say you spoke 100 words. Out of that, how many correctly recognized or how many wrongly recognized, substituted, insertion, deletions. Based on that, we'll calculate something called word error rate. That word error rate is around 9% for Indian languages right now with Google and Microsoft. We recently evaluated them. But for English, it is around 4 to 5% because English huge amount of data is available. And even your human parity, that is, if I speak 100 words to you, you also misrecognize few of them. So human parity is also around 4% word error rate. So in that way, that means if somebody asks you to dictate, somebody dictated 100 words and asks you to write, you also miss some 2-3 words in that. So English, people are saying advanced architectures of neural network, English has reached the human parity, around 4% word error rate, but Indian language are around 9% word error rate. Good systems, best systems available now.
Okay. Can you say something about training times? Can it be done for near real-time applications?
That's a good question. Let us say, as I said earlier, if I use, let us say, 10,000 hours of data, but one trial of training neural network, it takes, if I have server with 15 lakhs worth with 8 GPUs, it takes some 8 to 10 days. If I have a very good system, it may take 1 day because Google and all, they have very good high power systems that may take maybe less than a day also. It is for training. For testing, everything is real time. You already using speech recognition. You can touch the microphone and speak. No, what is the weather in Chennai? You can speak and it is live recognized. Okay, testing is live. Offline training is offline and it takes depending on your computation power, it takes the time.
Okay. The importance of Bayesian concept of MAMO.
Multi-input, multi-output.
Yes, sir. One question they asked.
It may be related to communication. I am not aware.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Any other questions, please? Apart from MEL filter bank, what are all the other filters are available?
Somebody use Bark scale also because human artery system can be modeled using Mel scale and Bark scale. That is what PLP features use. But other than that, we are also right now in our works, we are using something called single frequency filter banks. That means we will filter the signal at each frequency. So that will, even though it is computationally expensive, it gives very good frequency information, frequency and time information. So right now we are using something called single frequency filtering.
Okay, sir. Is there any other transformation than FFT?
In speech, you can use still wavelets and other things, but short-term Fourier transform is very famous using Fourier transform extension, that is short-term Fourier transform, because speech is quasi-stationary signal. Fourier transform works whenever signal is stationary. That's why, in speech, we can assume every 20 millisecond my signal is stationary, and we can apply Fourier transform. That's why short-term Fourier transform is very famous, and no need of wavelets much in speech. But wavelets is very famous in image because wavelets are capable of separating low frequency and high frequency, and images are known for low frequency. But that is not required in speech. Luckily, in speech, frame-wise, at least we have stationarity, then we can apply this Fourier transform.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Can we implement this system using FPGA to improve speed?
Yeah, people are now porting this. One of the hot area is porting neural network architectures effectively on these VLSI architectures. But I'm not expert in that. But these algorithms to machine learning algorithms to signal processing algorithms implementing effectively on this VLSI architecture is one of the hot area.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good question. So thank you very much for your wonderful session, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, we will meet on another occasion, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for accepting our invitation, sir.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can we close the session?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Dear participants, hope you are all learned something about speech processing. So we will end of our today's session. Tomorrow our session is start at 10 a.m. We will share the link through WhatsApp as well as mail. Kindly join before 5 minutes. So tomorrow's session is handled by Dr. Priyanka Kokil, IIIT TDM Kanchipuram. She will take stability of digital filters. So the afternoon session will start at 2 p.m. by Dr. P. Karupanan, MNIT Allahabad, recent trends in VLSI system. Okay. Thank you very much, participants. We will meet again tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Thank you.